John, it's great seeing you.
Tony, it's great to see you.
I think the last time we talked must have been Mr. Banks, and what a wonderful film that was. But my favorite interview with you was the Alamo. We had such a blast out there in Austin.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and the premiere at the actual Alamo, and the party at least after it was quite an experience.
I have to ask you just straight out, are you a fan of Rod Serling and the Twilight Zone? Because this had that feel to it.
A huge fan. What Rod Serling could do in 30 minutes, and that would confound me if I were limited to 3 hours. Sometimes he was a genius, like Stephen King, a genius.
Yeah, and the names attached to this, John Lee Hancock, Stephen King, Jason Blum. I mean, what a pedigree.
Yeah, and Ryan Murphy as well, and me at the bottom of the list. All those above me for sure. But no, it has a great pedigree, and it's great having partners that know the genre, know the world, and have your back. And you can go to them with any questions or any problems, and they're solution people.
It's not a horror film like people think. It is a horror coming of age movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I that's what I thought too. When I read it, I was one of the things I appreciated about it. It reminded me a little of The Body that was turned into Stand By Me, or even Shawshank, and some of those coming of age. But it has a paranormal aspect to it that I really appreciated. And I thought about it, and because my wife asked me, well, what do you think this is really about? And I said, I think it's kind of a Brothers Grimm cautionary fairy tale. And it has all that kind of thrown together, I think, in it.
It really, really does, and it resonates, to your audience in a very interesting way because the placement of your cameras, you get a great noir out of every shot, and you use light and shadow. It is ominous in its presence, but it's a joyous ominous.
Well, thanks for recognizing that, Tony. I mean, we put a lot, John Schwartzman, our DP, my longtime DP, and I, put a lot of thought into how do you create a normal world, but still have it be slightly uneasy and keep people not settling in, because it is a coming of age. It is a relationship movie between this man in his 80s and this teenage boy, and how they bond as friends. But kind of, you always want the uneasiness or the creepiness just to be there under the surface. And so, we looked at a lot of movies, including like Rosemary's Baby and the lens selection, and let's put the camera down low and always having it slightly creeping so that we feel the movement, but don't see it necessarily.
Yeah, it really does pay homage to those great creepy films. In our final minutes that we have together, what do you think audiences are going to take away from watching the film?
I would hope that if you had a group watching the movie, that everyone would take something slightly different. I think it's a possibility because it kind of puts its arm around several themes. I think that from a younger generation standpoint, looking at the beginning of the iPhone and kind of culturally how the tsunami it became and how it's part of their lives is they found interesting. I've shown it to a lot of teenage kids. I think also there's something that I think there's a sadness to the movie also, and I think it's moving, and that's based around the relationship between Mr. Harrigan and Craig and their shared sense of loss. They have something in common that makes them bond.
But it's also balanced by the joy that is in the film too. I mean, there are moments that are just wonderfully acted and wonderfully filmed.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun to be had from a 15-year-old boy teaching an 80-something-year-old man how to use his first iPhone. Yeah. It's when you see when my children who are 22, when they saw it, they laughed out loud, because they said it's so little. And then him trying to find the buttons and things like that was amusing.
It's always a great pleasure to chat with you, John. I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'll tell you what, this movie is just wonderfully creepy.
Oh, thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
You take care.